First, let's talk a little bit about herb gardening. As with any plant, you've got to select your site location. Some herbs are perennials, and so they work great in beds, or you can incorporate them into the landscape. You can also plant our herbs in containers, and so dill and cilantro both work well in containers. But there are a few things that we want to keep in mind if we're using containers to grow not just herbs but any plants. You may want to stay away from clay pots because they will soak up the water, but if you're going to use a terracotta pot, you want to soak that in water for a day or two so that they do absorb that water first before you plant. You want your pot to be at least 6 inches in diameter. You can get about 4 plants in a 10 to 12 inch pot. You don't have to use specific pots for planting. You can recycle, an old coffee can or a bucket, but you do want to make sure that you clean those out good and then that they do have a drainage hole in the bottom. You're going to fill your pot or container with potting mix to within a ½ inch of the top. You want your soil to be moist. And if you're using potting mixes that contain lots of peat, you may want to wet your potting mix the day before you intend to plant. I'm going to follow the planting instructions on your seed packet. You may want to plant a few extra seeds because you can always remove those seedlings once the plants have germinated. You want to water with a mist sprayer to avoid pushing the seeds too far into the ground. So once your herbs are up and growing, you want to water your containers on a regular basis to keep the soil damp to the touch but not soggy. You don't want to overwater. You want to water at the base of the plant to avoid getting the foliage wet, which can be a wonderful breeding ground for disease. You want to water the pot until it runs out the drainage hole or fills the water reservoir. You want to make sure that your herbs get at least 4 hours of sunlight per day. And you want to fertilize the containers 3 weeks after the plants have 2 sets of leaves. And follow the application recommendations of your fertilizer or plant food label. Cilantro. This seed is valued for its spicy flavor that is used in gingerbread, breads, cookies, and pickling spices. The odor emitted from the immature seed is very unpleasant, but becomes more pleasant as it's dried. Few seeds are produced per plant though. The foliage is used to flavor Mexican and Southwestern dishes. Cilantro can be grown indoors or outdoors, and you want to plant about a 1/4 inch deep and about 12 to 18 inches apart. It can be planted in full sun to light shade when the temperatures are at least 65 to 75 degrees. Cilantro is a hardy annual, so it will die back every year. However, it usually comes back from the seeds the following year. You want to harvest cilantro at 60 to 90 days, which is before it starts flowering. You're going to cut off the top 2 to 3 inches when the plant's about 6 inches tall. Dill. The foliage and seeds are used to flavor pickles, vinegars, dips, and sauces. You're going to plant those only about 1/8 of an inch deep, but still about 12 to 18 inches apart, and when it's 60 to 75 degrees. Dill needs good drainage, and so compost can be added. Dill is also a hardy annual. To harvest dill, the fresh leaves can be harvested all season, and for drying, you want to harvest the leaves at 40 to 60 days before the flower heads open up. If you're harvesting the seed, you want to harvest those just as they ripen and turn a beige brown color. You want to harvest herbs in the morning after the dew has dried. You're going to rinse them and pat them dry. You'll tie 10 to 15 stems together in bunches and hang them in a warm, airy place to dry for up to 3 weeks. I'm going to cover them with a paper bag while they're drying, and you don't want to hang your bunches in the sun. You can also dry herbs using screens, and the leaves should feel crisp and crackly to the touch when dry. So once that happens, you can take the bundles down and strip your leaves. You want to store your herbs in a dark, cool area in an airtight glass or ceramic container. Dried herbs are best if used within the first year after harvesting. You can freeze many herbs, and some taste better when they're frozen versus dried. If herbs are to be frozen more than 2 months, they may need to be blanched first. Now we're going to turn it over to our Snap Assistant Senior, Anita Jones, to share some tasty recipes with us.
Today I'm going to make a farmer's market salsa for you. And this contains cilantro. Cilantro is one of those herbs that can be used fresh or dried, and you will be receiving some seeds for this so you can grow your own. It's one of those things that raw, and when it's fresh, it contains 1 calorie and has less than 1 gram of each carbohydrate, protein, and fat. This portion contributes to about 10% of the daily value for vitamin K. Cilantro contains phytonutrients, and there are a wide variety of compounds produced by plants that have both benefits for the body. So this is a recipe that you can find a lot of this stuff at the farmer's market right now. So let's jump right in and make it. It takes 5 medium tomatoes, which I didn't use hardly that many, 1 jalapeno, 1 garlic clove. You could use minced if you don't want to, out of the jar, if you don't want to chop it yourself. A half of a red onion, and onions are on recall right now, so I could not find a red, so I already had white, so I just used a white onion. 1 can of black beans, rinsed. 3, well, next we need lime juice, so we'll go ahead and add that. 3 tablespoons of fresh lime juice. So let's add that. And I may only do 2 since it's coming out of this. Next is our half teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. And 1 tablespoon of fresh chopped cilantro that I've already chopped. Next, we mix it up. This would go good with tacos, nachos, anything you want to serve it with. Chill it, and it's ready to go. Farmer's Market fresh salsa. In your bag, you'll also receive dill seeds. And dill is an awesome little plant that you can use for various things. It can be dried or it can be used fresh. Dill, its stems, leaves, and roots are found to be rich in different phytonutrients. It contains a long list of vitamins and other minerals, including A, C, and B6, and calcium, manganese, and folate, among others. Like I said, you can use it dry or fresh. We're going to be making a recipe for popcorn. And what you do, you can mix various spices. You can put Italian seasoning, cumin, chili powder, oregano. There's just, the list goes on and on. In your bag, you will get, and it'll be posted on here, the recipe for do-yourself popcorn bar. And there is various ways that you can top your popcorn. What I have here is just plain popcorn. In my bowl, like I said, plain popcorn. I like to buy powdered buttermilk. What you do is you take just a little bit of powdered buttermilk, sprinkle on your popcorn. Take some Parmesan cheese also. It's not wanting to work right now. And dill weed. Dill weed is one of those things that this has been tried, and it goes very good in this recipe. Sprinkle it on. You are going to have to figure out a way to kind of stir this up, so take your spoon from your buttermilk and kind of stir it gently. And this is one of those things, I have done this recipe with school age kids, like 6th graders. They loved it. So this is a recipe that your kids can help make. This is a healthy snack for them. Put it in to-go bags. Let them take it places with them. Good on the go snack. It's ready to go. Fun, healthy thing for kids to eat and parents too.
Thanks for watching, and we hope that you enjoy your fall victory gardens. Please feel free to contact us if you have any questions.